Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, November 8th. Much colder air has moved into the mid-Atlantic region. Winds will pick up as we move through the morning hours. Will be a mixture of clouds and sunshine up and down the I-95 corridor with temperatures way below normal for this time of the year. It remains chilly on Saturday. Temperatures may modify a bit and the winds will slacken off a bit, so it'll feel better on Saturday. But then a secondary cool front moves into the mid-Atlantic region on Sunday. Winds will pick up again. They'll be gusty on Sunday afternoon. Even though it should be a dry frontal passage, it'll reinforce chilly conditions, and we remain chilly right into the early part of next week. Then by the middle part of next week, a very strong high-pressure system that we've talked about the last couple of days will anchor an Arctic invasion. That Arctic air will move first into the northern plains by about Tuesday of next week, and then it'll spread all the way to the south and east by the middle part of next week, way below normal temperatures for this time of the year. And there still is potential for a storm to form along the east coast or just off the east coast. There's a lot of disagreement amongst the computer forecast models right now. That potential still exists for the middle or latter part of next week. The storm is a question. The Arctic air is not a question. That will invade much of the country by the middle part of next week. Well, let's take a look at the morning surface map. That frontal system that passed through yesterday is way off the east coast right now. A strong northwest flow of air will be noticeable by the mid and late morning hours and right through the afternoon up and down the I-95 corridor. It's below normal temperature-wise throughout the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast this morning, and it remains chilly right into the early part of next week. Upstream, here's a secondary cool front. That moves into the region on Sunday. Winds will become gusty on Sunday afternoon with that secondary cool frontal system. Well, let's take a look at the current 500 millibar map. This is in the middle part of the atmosphere, about 18,000 feet up or so. A couple of troughs here that are very noticeable. Here's the first one in the northeastern part of the country. That ushered in the colder air mass that we're experiencing right now. Upstream, a very noticeable upper level trough right here over the Pacific Northwest. That's with that secondary cool front that will kick up winds here on Sunday, especially Sunday afternoon. Even though it looks like that front will come through dry, it'll be noticeable in the form of gusty winds and a reinforcing cool shot. It remains below normal on Sunday and Monday behind that next cool frontal system. Well, let's now jump ahead to next week's unfolding scenario. A very interesting pattern here developing for the middle part of next week. One thing is for sure, there will be a very, very strong high-pressure system that will be anchoring an Arctic air mass that will invade much of the country. What is not so sure is, will there be an East Coast storm that develops at the same time this cold air is entrenched in the northeastern part of the country? This is the GFS forecast map for Monday evening. Here's that very strong high-pressure system for this time of the year, perhaps 1040, 1045 millibars in the northern plains later in the day on Monday. Cool front is starting to slide through the mid-Atlantic region. Very cold Arctic air here penetrating into the Great Lakes region at this time Monday evening. Let's jump ahead to the Tuesday evening forecast map. By Tuesday evening, the GFS model drives that very strong high pressure system down into the Midwest, pretty much drives it south and east, and the colder air does move all the way to the East Coast. Yesterday we talked about this initial blue line seen right here. This is kind of a rain snow line in the upcoming winter months. Well, look at this, a second blue line, an even colder push is noticeable here in the Mid-Atlantic region by the middle part of next week. Let's now jump ahead 24 hours. And here's the GFS forecast map for Wednesday evening. Now, what the GFS model does, it drives that high pressure all the way to the Mid-Atlantic region by the middle part of next week, and it's so strong that it really pushes any potential East Coast storm way off the East Coast. There are signs for a storm, but way off the East Coast. The GFS model really just floods the northeastern part of the country with cold Arctic air. Not at all an unreasonable scenario. That certainly is a possibility. We'll have to monitor the situation over the next several days. However, the European model continues to hold on to the idea of a storm much closer to the East Coast. In fact, let's take a look at a European model forecast. And here's last night's Zero-Z European model run forecast for Wednesday evening. We just saw the GFS model had pretty much high pressure just dominating the scene here throughout the eastern part of the country. The European model, however, holds on to the idea of an East Coast storm right here that intensifies as it moves up the East Coast by the middle part of next week, Wednesday, Thursday time frame. Enough precipitation here that it actually produces accumulating snow up and down the I-95 corridor by the latter part of Wednesday into Thursday. So there certainly is still the potential for an East Coast storm. A lot of disagreement amongst the models, and we'll continue to monitor the whole situation over the next several days. Very interesting weather scenario setting up for the middle and latter part of next week. The Arctic air is not in question, but the East Coast storm is still up in the air. That's it for now. For the SIWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.